Alan Smith, Scottish National Party MEP. There's been much debate, negotiation, many amendments when it comes to this law. How does the final version stand as far as North Sea oil and gas is concerned?
Well, this has been a great bit of work on the part of the European Parliament, and also I'd pay tribute to the industry, the unions, the churches even, community groups and stakeholders. Piper Alpha is still seared into the Scottish consciousness. We take offshore oil and gas safety very, very seriously, but we've got this into a good place now, and the EU standards that we're agreeing today will become the gold standard for oil and gas operations worldwide. That opens up consultancy and safety opportunities for our personnel as they go worldwide, so we really have scored a result today.
How then do you see it as being an opportunity then in the future for the sector?
Well, presently the best, at least in public relations terms, is the Norwegian standards. But as the EU standards are more harmonised and develop a greater degree of clarity, now there are Scottish fingerprints all over this piece of legislation, so it really does have a lot to recommend. It is based on real-world experience, hard-won real-world experience as well. So we can take these standards worldwide and we can incorporate them into our operating systems. We've got global companies based in Scotland with real expertise in this, but this gives legal clarity and makes people safer, firstly, but it also opens a number of commercial opportunities to our companies. We've done a good bit of work today.
So you think that could see experts from Scotland working in the North Sea at the moment, perhaps going elsewhere to share that expertise?
Well, of course, that's already happening. We're seeing a number of fields opening up in the Mediterranean, offshore Libya, Morocco as well, but further afield as well. The oil and gas industry is worldwide. We're seeing an increasingly resource-hungry planet. Now, we need to do all sorts of things in renewables to cut down on our use of fossil fuels, but meantime, we are a fossil fuel-dependent race, and we need to make sure that we exploit the resources we have safely and with the maximum environmental protection possible. So we've got great expertise in Scotland. We're already sending a lot of people away to go and take that expertise worldwide, but this legal framework will give a greater degree of clarity to them as they do that.
And will there be an impact in the North Sea? Is there anything that will come from this new legislation that will actually raise in any way the standards in the North Sea?
We're going to see a wee bit moves towards greater transparency in terms of reporting and individual cases for safety cases for each installation. So there will be more transparency across the companies themselves, which often you do see that competitors aren't necessarily that keen to share. We'll see greater transparency. So all of this is positive. We've worked hugely hard on it. It's been a long time coming, but we have got it to a good place, and I can heartily recommend it to the industry and people of Scotland as a good step forward.
When you say this is in a good place now, there were serious concerns at the outset. What kind of things did you have to argue against, if you like? You say it's been a hard-won victory, if you like. So what kinds of things did you have to battle against?
Well, there's a variety of things. It sounds very technical, but initially the legal form of the package was a regulation which has immediate binding effect on the member states, as opposed to a directive which has 2 years to implement and can be implemented in a much more flexible way. There was also a number of steps backward, frankly, in terms of how safety cases would be drawn up. They were basically going to be desk-based exercises rather than real world. So all of this was an anathema to us in Scotland. It was taking us backwards in terms of safety. So we've been able to make that case to the European Commission and others that we take safety very seriously. This is not a case of objecting to regulation for its sake. We do want to see that people are as safe as possible and that operations can continue in the best environmental standards available.
As the proposal stood at the outset, as you've outlined, I mean, what would have been the impact in the North Sea?
Well, it's one of those, had that been passed as it was initially proposed, it would have been completely unworkable, and we were lining up exactly with the Norwegians, who flatly said, we're not going to implement this. We will actually fight this in the EEA court. We were taking a similarly very, very sceptical view. But there's ways of having that discussion. We certainly objected to the content of it as it was proposed, but we didn't object to the principle and we didn't object to the aims. So we worked constructively with the industry, the unions, stakeholder groups and others, and the European Commission and member state governments to get this to a place where it's actually a step forward, gives a great deal more clarity. So it has been a good bit of work by the European Parliament.
And of course it is such a vital sector for Scotland. So how vital then is the shape and form, the final shape and form of this for Scotland?
Well, it's one of the first rules of politics that if you can't do any good, do no harm. So we've got it to a place where it does no harm. This opens a number of commercial opportunities to us. This will increase transparency across a number of the operators. So there's a lot in this to like. Where there was initially a lot to dislike, we've been able to knock those bits off, and this is a step forward now. So this is certainly something I can recommend to the people in industry of Scotland.